Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. My name is Jireh. I'm Yugi's nephew. My mom is out of the country right now, so she wanted me to share a few words of reflection about Yugi. These are words from my reflections from my mom. Ani is the nickname we called our brother Yugi. He's very special in our family. He was very smart, intelligent, and strong-willed. But I didn't really know him well until this previous year when he was sick. My brother was a thinker and a challenger. He challenged others and he challenged himself to learn and to be successful. He's very knowledgeable because he kept learning new things. I remember the time he self-studied the Chinese language, and even when he was sick, he studied the KJV Bible to find out more about God. My brother fought very hard to survive the cancer, and I knew he had done his best. Above all else, my brother was caring and generous and giving too. He cared for his parents, siblings, and family, especially Michael. He cared and liked to talk to people. I remembered he was asking me a lot of questions, and I knew he cared for me. Ani, brother, I miss you, but I know I will see you again in heaven one day. Love you always.
Let us rise and continue to celebrate the life of my uncle as we sing of and reflect on the amazing grace of God. for the reading of God's Word. Please feel free to follow along in page 6 of the program booklet. We will begin reading at 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16 through chapter 5, verse 10. So we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light, momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. For we know that if the tent that is our earthly home is destroyed, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For in this tent we groan, longing to put on our heavenly dwelling, if indeed by putting it on we may not be found naked. For while we are still in this tent, we groan, being burdened, not that we would be unclothed, but that we would be further clothed, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. He who has prepared us for this very thing is God, who has given us the Spirit as a guarantee. So we are always of good courage. We know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord, for we walk by faith, not by sight. Yes, we are of good courage, and we would rather be away from the body and at home with the Lord. So whether we are at home or away, we make it our aim to please Him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. You may be seated.
Good morning. My name is Hugo. I don't know Mr. Lim that well. I only have come to know him the last few months. But I know the younger Mr. Lim much more. I know Mike. We knew each other from Pittsburgh. I was his pastor in the campus church for a number of years. And so I was very happy to hear that Michael moved back here, because I moved here about 2 years ago with my family, started pastoring. And I remember Michael said, now that you're in Maryland, you're actually not that far from my parents' house. You should go visit my dad. Because one of the things that Michael has always, had a burden for, is that he longs for that his parents also come to know Jesus, come to experience the faith, the joy, the peace, the love that he has with Christ. But it's interesting, and I told Mike that I'll try to make time to go visit him. But he always warned me before I go. I remember, and somehow he painted this picture that made me kind of scared of meeting Mr. Lim. He said that, he's a really nice guy, but, he's not so crazy about Christianity. I mean, he's looking into it, but he's quite smart, and he apparently, I guess when Mike speaks to his dad about it, sometimes they will have arguments or discussions, I guess, and I can imagine, even though Mike is very smart, that he probably can't handle his dad's intellectual, attacks or critiques and so on. And so Mike has warned me that if you go meet my dad, be ready, you got to be sharp, you got to be ready. And so I was picturing this guy, because I had met many professors and talked and even debated with professors about faith and so on. And so I was getting ready. But when I got to see his dad, I met one of the most humble, kind, and also very hungry in terms of persons looking and asking questions. Right? He wasn't asking questions in a very in a cynical, sarcastic, accusative way, because I've met plenty of those people who do that. And I was one of them, because I was a diehard atheist in college before I finally came to know Jesus. And so I was expecting to see someone like me, but turned out it was someone who was kind, smart, and he asked a lot of tough questions. But again, he didn't ask those tough questions to prove he's smart or to critique, but to really want to know, kind of like Mr. Bourne was saying, that he really wants to know. He wants to drill in deep. He wants to know for sure what he's believing in or what he's looking in. And so I really enjoy the times I spend with him basically doing Bible studies. And that's what I'm going to do with you right now. Kind of show you, of course, without the interaction. You can interact with me later, but show you kind of what Mr. Lim and I did a couple of times when we look at the Bible together, and also pick the passage that I think he really enjoyed that we had looked at. You know, because I think, because I don't know Mr. Lim that well, so at a funeral or a memorial service, the best people to talk about Mr. Lim, to remember him, as Michael said earlier, we're here partly to remember him, to pay him respect, to celebrate his life. And I think that's best done by those who are closest to him. And thank you, Mr. Borden, for the very moving sharing, and also Michael will share some more later. So why am I here? Well, I'm here for the other half, because I often tell people at funerals, partly funeral is for the person who passed away. But in another way, actually maybe in a larger way, funeral are for the people who are left behind. Right? Because Mr. Lim, as you'll see, we'll talk more soon, that he's not here. His body is here, but he's not here. Right? He's with Jesus in a far better place. Right? So really, funeral in a lot of ways for us who are left behind, because we need closure, we need comfort, we need hope, you know, but not wishful thinking kind of hope, but a real hope that tells us, you know, where is he going? Why did he suffer so much? Why are we here? And so that's why I want to take you to the passage we just read and look at it briefly, what Mr. Lim and I talked about from that passage. I remember that day when I went to visit him, he said, I have a question for you. He always starts like that. Every time I sit down, I have a question for you. I said, okay, I'm ready. And so he said, well, you know, what happened when I die? I mean, I know, because I know Jesus, I know that I'll see him, but is it right away? How do I get there? Is it, or do I kind of fall asleep and sleep for a long time, and then I wake up in the future, I'll see Jesus? So he was asking a lot of questions. And so I said, well, let's not take man's opinion about it, because many people can tell you different things, but let's go straight to God's word, and which is what you have just read. And so from what you have just read, you know, we talked about that because he has placed his faith in Jesus, he has a better hope that he will be in a better place, and that we can live with a better purpose. Better hope, better place, and better purpose. So if you can go to page 6 and take a look at those passages that the passage that we just heard read, and we'll look at this very quickly. Unlike the time when I spent with Mr. Lim, we had a lot of time to just keep talking about it. But this passage brought him a lot of hope. He was asking, what happens after I die? You know, and Paul here, the writer of the passage we just read, the Apostle Paul, the reason that you heard it was read, started with chapter 4 instead of chapter 5 that was printed, is because, you know, as I was coming here, even last night as I was preparing for this message, and I was telling Michael that maybe we should start at chapter 4. I know it's already printed, but maybe we should start at chapter 4, because that kind of frames the whole thought of Paul. See, Paul in chapter 4, in fact, there's no chapters. Originally it was a letter. What we just heard was a letter that Paul wrote to the Christians in modern-day Turkey. At that time in Turkey, there was lots of Christians. And so he wrote to the Christians there to encourage them. But then he started talking about how he was suffering quite a bit, because Paul was getting older. And as you know, as we get older, we start making more noises. Our knees make noises. Our body makes noises. Our mouth makes noises. In fact, he talks about that we groan sometimes. You know, I don't know about you. Sometimes you get up in the morning and go, oh man, you know, and there's kind of more noises our body make, and the more noises our body makes, sometimes the more uncomfortable we get, because we realize that time spares nobody. That as we get older, as Paul talks about, our outward body, our physical body is wasting away. And I remember recently I twisted my ankle because I was playing football with my boys, and when I went to the doctor says, Mr. Cheng, you are not a 35 years old anymore. You are 50. What does that mean? Can I still run around with my boys with football? He said, yes, but you got to be more careful, And when I heard that from my doctor, I remember I twisted my ankles years ago. And at that time, my other doctor said, Mr. Cheng, you are 35 now. You're not 20 anymore. And so it seems like the older you get, the more warnings we have, and the more potential we get hurt and get sick. And so Paul is getting older, the Apostle Paul, and he has started writing to the Corinthian Christians about how he was facing a lot of physical pain as well as physical danger because he was preaching Jesus. And when you preach Jesus in the Roman Empire time, you are considered an atheist. In fact, the word atheist was coined first by the Roman Empire to insult Christians, because the Christians did not believe in all the gods that the Roman Empire believed in. They did not believe that Caesar was God. So they were being mocked as atheists. Nowadays, atheists mean you don't believe in God at all. But actually, the first group of atheists were the Christians. And so he was facing a lot of danger. And because of that, he was writing and reflecting about, even though I get beaten, I get put in jail, I face a lot of difficulties, and my body is wasting away outwardly, I don't lose heart. In fact, what you heard read in this passage, he talks about, I am of good courage, or we are always of good courage, a couple of times, because he is a man who lives with a sense of strong hope, even though the situation is very difficult. But he's also a realist, right? You notice he says we are of good courage twice, but in the passage he also says that in this tent, or in this body, we groan. In fact, he said we groan twice. And this is kind of one of his favorite phrases, because he used it in other parts, other letters that he wrote too. He says, we groan. Because sometimes we really groan, because we know that we live in a very broken world with a very broken body. Sometimes we can be as optimistic as we want and look on the bright side, but every time we look on the bright side, there's also the dark side. And so being a Christian, and for Paul, being a follower of Jesus, he was a realist. He doesn't just say, oh, believe in Jesus and everything will be fine. Believe in Jesus, you'll be rich. Believe in Jesus, you will never be sick. In fact, if someone tells you that if you can become a Christian, you will be rich and you will not get sick, run. Okay? Because they're lying. And most likely they want your money. But Paul says, look, we do groan because we live in a broken world where there's cancer, where there is disasters, where there are tragedies, where there are people hurting each other and being hurt. The Bible doesn't spare those details. The Bible actually tells us, God tells us very clearly, we live in a very broken world. And the reason